Hey folks, back with Ancient Cosmography. This is a map of America. Crappy laptop freezing. Okay, let me move it. So yeah, just to recap, this is Greenland here. Greenland, Hudson Bay, Florida, and it shows it when it included all this stuff before the sea level fell. After this is a 5,500-year-old Egyptian map from the oldest painted tomb 100 at Hierakonpolis. And so it shows, ancient coastlines, probably even, older than that, but at least that old. And so Florida was wider. The Yucatan was wider. Baja California seems to be a little wider. And there even seems to be a little peninsula down here. I'm not sure if that's like Easter Island or one of the islands near Santiago, Chile. So, this is something I discovered about 5 years ago, sent it to Harvard, Yale, UCLA, Stanford, UCSF, basically sent it to all the places. Sent it to Oxford, Cambridge, sent it to Egyptian, universities in Egypt. Not one of the dozens and maybe hundreds of academics I sent this to would even talk to me about it. Not one. So, I did talk. There's some academics who talked to me that I sought out, or there's, for their alternative, work in this vein. But even a lot of them, like there was a guy from an Oregon University and maybe Johns Hopkins too, but he was into like pre-Columbian contact. But he just he's like, well, I'm not a cartographer, so I can't comment on these. Like, okay, are you do you have eyes? Do you have pattern recognition? It's like if you can't just see that, like, that this is the same shape, same general shape, and piece together what that implies, then should you really be teaching anything to anyone? I ask, I wonder. I think this might be Newfoundland right there. Or maybe this is Baffin Island and this is Newfoundland. Yeah, that's more likely. Baffin Island's right there, and then Newfoundland's right there. They kind of rearrange stuff in a lot of these ancient maps just to fit everything and make it orderly. Like they put South America actually south of North America instead of what it really is, which is east of North America. Just to kind of make it a little more orderly and neat. And so yeah, this just shows the Ice Age coastlines there that match up. And this shows that, yeah, there's Greenland there. There's South America there. There's Antarctica here. You know, like people who just think like, oh yeah, well of course they would just make all the same shapes by chance. Everybody does that. Everybody makes this shape, right? Didn't you just doodle this shape on your binder at school every day? No. Like that's what they seem to believe. Or they just don't understand probabilities at all, or like, you know, the likelihood of creating the same shapes. So yeah, I mean, just with these three things, not even showing Africa, not showing Asia on the rest of this map, just showing this sliver should be enough for an adult human to figure out, like, yes, this is a map of this. 420. Maybe it's because I smoke so much weed that I have better visual acuity. They say that it helps your eyes sometimes to like view, like see subtleties and stuff. But I don't think it should require that just to see this. You know, these are some of the older maps. I mean, this is why I don't get too bent out of shape about convincing people, because I'm like, if you can't see this, if you can't see that this is a similar shape and that this is a similar shape and that this is a similar shape and that this is a similar shape, and if you can't understand the implications of that, then, you know, I don't care your opinion on archaeology. Like, you know, you're not going to be, like, the only people who are going to be an asset to archaeology and bring anything to the table are people with pattern recognition. So it doesn't, you know, yeah, is it sad that people don't understand reality or care to? I guess, but that's for them to cry about, or their mothers or somebody else, posterity maybe, can cry about how these idiots ran us into the ground. But I'm not gonna like waste my time. So yeah, the same thing earlier, or later version, the Panama here, and then they screwed up the coast because of course they were using the same thing to you know, they were using this as their template, and they didn't realize that it's flipped antipodally, you know, like just like this modern Antipodes map flips the antipodes retrograde. So did the Egyptian map. So in most versions, I flip it back just to make it like normal. And so people don't make the mistake that these people did. Because what they did is they saw it like this, and they didn't realize, you know, that it was flipped retrograde. Like a lot of ancient maps are from Egypt are known to be flipped retrograde. Like in the Book of Two Ways, the scholars who study this know that many aspects of it are sometimes seemingly arbitrarily flipped prograde or retrograde, you know, backwards or sort of right side up. But anyway, these guys didn't know, so they recreated this with they put Greenland in the right place here. Like this is the first one that these two are copied off of. So this one, the coffin of Jehudi Nacht, puts Greenland in the right place on the eastern side. Basically, they just redid the top of the northern part of it because they realized that it's different from this. Although they still partly use this, so I think probably the shape of this is even partly based on this, even though it's from the wrong coast. But at least they took Greenland and put it over here where it goes instead of pointing like that. And they kind of turned, I guess they turned Baja California into Florida somewhat. And then the next one did it more so. But the rest of this, they left it like this. So they have like South America pointing due east. And then I think when they realized that that was seemed to be heavily exaggerated because it doesn't point like that, they figured, okay, well, if we're going to do that, we're going to have to do that to everything so that we have it in proportion. So that's why these parts are fucked up too, like Brazil and, Honduras or whatever. It's very easy to see. I mean, once you spend the time, it's very easy to see what went wrong, what mistake they made. So the best map is the oldest map, 5,500 years old. And let's see. This is the 4,000-year-old one. Anyway, I think I showed all these last time, but just since it's still here on the screen. But this one, this is when they realized that all this stuff down here was wrong. So they just redid it. They're like, all right, we'll just kind of give a very vague, wavy pattern to the whole thing and just throw out. So they got rid of some of the parts that were accurate in the earlier maps. That's the problem of having inaccuracies, is then sometimes people will have to throw out the accuracies too, just to start over. But they did really well. This is the first illustrated map, so they did well, like actually painting on all the peninsulas and islands instead of just labeling them like the earlier ones did. And then this one, 3,000-year-old map that just focuses on this rectangle right here in Central America, Gulf of Mexico, and I think the Gulf of St. Lawrence. That's the first one I ever discovered from the Book of Two Ways of Ani, or the Book of the Dead of Ani. But anyway, I wanted to show I made like a similar type of zoomorphic map, just the same way that like this, for instance, like this little guy is Baja, or is Alaskan Peninsula, and then this horned animal here, which you can't see very well in this one, is Baja California, et cetera, et cetera. This rabbit, which you can't see well here, is Newfoundland. This critter is Cuba. This other one is Hispaniola. So I decided to do the similar thing for where I live, like San Francisco Bay Area. So this is just basically some way to easily memorize and graph out, the area, like, because once you do this, it's very easy to orientate everything. So I just said, here's San Francisco right here. Here's San Jose. Here's Santa Cruz where I live. Here's Oakland, Richmond. Here's Marin County. So I figured, it kind of looks like, and then there's the Golden Gate Bridge is right between them, I guess. So I figured, this kind of looks like a bear. I mean, it has like big weird ears, but so maybe it would be a black bear, or they have bigger ears. This is like his face, or her face, and arm. And this is like a baby bear down here with the two ears being like Oakland and Richmond, Point Richmond and Point Oakland, or whatever that is. And then this is kind of like a hound dog with like a long muzzle and like ears that don't stick up but kind of hang down here, maybe to here, even to like Redwood City or whatever that is, Palo Alto. And this is like, you know, I live here on the butthole, of course, but can you do? So I made a story for it. Like, bear asked where her cub had strayed. She could hear his laughter. Hound had found her son, and they lived happily ever after. That's why they're there forever, rubbing their little nosies together with the Golden Gate Bridge. So, you know, it's just something. You can do this to anything. You can do it with anything. You can turn it into anything. But it helps if it's something that people know, like hounds and bears and stuff. Something they're familiar with. And then sailors using this can very easily orientate. They can say, okay, without knowing every single town, they can say, okay, I'm at the butthole of the like hound, or I'm on the